Welcome to Marketing with Confidence. I'm your host, Marianne Amies. We're going to be talking all things digital and online marketing for business owners and marketing professionals. If you've been feeling overwhelmed by your digital marketing, be sure to listen along and you'll hear tips, interviews and more that will give you the confidence to create marketing you love. Hi and welcome back to another episode of Marketing with Confidence. Today we're going to be talking all things first-party data, why it matters, what it is, and what you can do to collect more of it. First-party data, put simply, is data that your business collects. And I'm going to go into different types of first-party data. But before I start, I guess the idea behind today's podcast was recently I attended a MailChimp marketing conference. No surprises, MailChimp was talking a lot about first-party data. And it really got me thinking about, I guess, fads and how, we start labeling things differently. And it can get confusing for marketers to understand what people are talking about. So when I think of first-party data, I primarily think of your email database list. So let's talk about the different types of marketing data to begin with. And there is really a relationship from first, second to third of quality. So when we think of first-party data, this is the highest quality data as a business that we can own. And it's really about the data that your company or your business collects directly from its customers. So first party. And this can be through interactions in your channels. It can be through signups. I'm going to talk to you about different ways you can collect it as well in a minute. The next type of data that we often hear about is second-party data. So second-party data might be where you sponsor an event and then they give you the list of attendees. Now, the attendees were told that the list would be shared. So there is some warming up of that audience, but likely they're not going to exactly know who you are the first time you reach out. Or maybe you do a competition with another business. And again, that sort of second-party data, you guys collect that data together and you share it, and then you're emailing. So there may be some, I guess, a less warm relationship than with first-party data. And then we have third-party data. Now, I think people like you and I receive a lot of emails where we are third-party data. So this is where VAs and bots and other systems will skim websites and look for email addresses. People skim LinkedIn and build databases. Basically, they're collecting information without consent, I would say, or with very grey consent. And that's forming a database. And, that's also when you buy data from a list broker. It's, again, when you use certain programs that will build you lists of data. So third-party data is the lowest quality. And, you want to be careful how much of your business is running from third-party data because it probably infers you don't have a strong relationship. You're going to cold audiences and probably audiences that are even colder than cold. They're freezing. In the last few years, there's been a lot of changes when it comes to data, really, I guess, positively protecting the consumer. We had privacy laws such as GDPR, coming quite some time ago, and that really changed how we tracked data. Australian privacy laws as well, really changed how we collect data, things like getting people to opt in as opposed to opt out of our marketing materials as well. We used to kind of have everything pre-ticked for sign up, and that's really changed as well to be, opt in, not opt out. On top of this, if you've, been around the marketing traps, you would have heard about iOS 14 about probably 2 years ago now. And that's when Apple started rolling out its app tracking transparency changes. And Google is also phasing out of third-party cookie changes. Now, all of that sounds like a lot of jargon, but what it means is we're having a reduced accessibility of third-party data, but third-party data that was about usage of our website or interaction with our ads. And the less of that third-party data in this instance, the less visibility we start to have around, who engages with us, who doesn't, what their characteristics are, who that ideal client is that we're working with. Because of those changes, we're not getting as much of that third-party information through that data that was, we were able to infer and make decisions from. So although it's really important and I think really positive that more protections are in place to protect people, their consumer behavior and their data, as marketers, it's meant that first-party data has become more powerful than ever. When we also talk about first-party data and we think about the traditional email marketing list, the other reason why it's so important and powerful is because we own it. And when we rely on our social media followers or we rely on paid advertising, to get engagement, to get brand awareness, to make conversions, we're really at the mercy of those platforms. So we're at the mercy of the dreaded algorithm and we're at the mercy of the cost per click. And, first party data also gives us the freedom to build an audience that we own, that we've been, invited in to talk to and engage with and market to. So, it's can be tricky to gather. It can be, challenging to build, but it becomes an asset of your business that you own. And, effectively building it is going to also strengthen all of your marketing opportunities and marketing activities as well. So, we want to build really strong first-party data. When we think of first-party data, we firstly think of that email address and a first name. And if you like, that's kind of the bare minimum. When we design pop-ups on websites to collect it, we know that people don't want to spend a lot of time filling in our form. We know if we ask them too many questions, each one is a barrier to completing. And we want to do whatever we can to capture that email address, because that's our first step to being able to have a predictable relationship with this customer and to learn more about them. So, getting that email address and name is really critical, but there's even more information that we can build as a profile around that person. So our website interactions, so this can be, platforms like Shopify are great for this. If someone's shopped with Shopify before, Shopify can tend to know that when they're on their website through cookies. And that means that, if we can start to see in our own platform, our customers' browsing activity. So, we can build more of a vision of, this person abandoned carts twice before they buy, or this person, looks at multiple pages before they buy, or our typical customer behaves like this. They come in at a collection page and they will look at a certain amount of products. They'll put things in the cart, they'll change device, and then they'll check out. So we can start to really learn. Obviously, email engagement. So once we have their email address, starting to learn how our first party or how our customers engage with our emails helps a lot as well. What's our open rate? What's our click rate? What type of emails do they buy from? What type of emails do they reply to? Learning more from that first party data about who our typical customer is, what their journey, what their life cycle looks like. We might be able to start collecting some demographic information, depending if they are buying from us. That might fill itself out, based on different questions. If we have a loyalty program, they might put their birthday in. That tells us a bit more. If we're more of a B2B, we might be asking for some more details around their address. We might be asking around communication preferences, and using a CRM to really capture all that is expanding that powerful database that we have in-house. Customer feedback. So doing surveys, reviews, feedback forms. Again, that's all data that informs us against that first party data we own. Purchase history, location data, wish listing, abandoned carts, search queries. All of this, really helps us to be able to look at our marketing and understand, what we need to do to match our unique client on their journey to conversion. So building that first party data, and again, if you're an e-com, if that's, you're using Shopify, I think it actually works as quite a strong CRM, customer relationship management or customer information tool to really help you. Things like Klaviyo or MailChimp paired with Shopify also will help you to dial into that information. And a lot of the platforms, certainly MailChimp, are really investing against AI predictives and AI transformation data within an email environment based on your first party data that's happening in your Shopify. If you're B2B, finding a CRM that is affordable and appropriate. There is obviously HubSpot, which can be quite good. It can get expensive quite quickly. But if you're just kind of looking for that contact data home and building profiles, not trying to do everything through HubSpot, it can stay quite affordable. And then as your business grows, it has so many capabilities for a B2B environment. We use a software called Keap, K-E-A-P, which is Infusionsoft software, and we build all of our, first party data insights in there. So from somebody filling out a contact form or opting in for a lead, that data goes in there as they make other choices, purchase from us, do an annual feedback form with us. All that data goes in there against that particular contact. So again, we're building our first party data into one unified source that we can access and really understand and dive into. So first party data. By now, I'm sure I've opened your eyes to how important it is and how it's, a critical asset of your business, but you're probably wondering, how you collect it. As we say, that we talked about just then, lots of different ways you can flesh out, but how do you get that first point of contact, and how do you get that initial connection into your database, into your email program or into your CRM? So, as I touched on, Shopify is quite amazing at this. I think as an e-com platform, does really well at, finding that first party data and building on that person's user journey once they're within your website ecosystem. To take somebody from that point where they're not a customer yet and they've landed on your e-com site, it's the sign-ups, it's the pop-ups. And I've spoken about this before as well. And, we all hate those niggly 10% pop-ups, or, you don't want to devalue your brand with a 10% pop-up. But at the end of the day, if that is a way to bank an email address that otherwise is traffic that could come and go and you not be able to identify them, I think that 10% or 15% is A, money well spent, and I think it's B, can still complement your brand nicely, while giving you the benefit of kind of cashing in on any money you spent directing people to your website. Obviously, loyalty programs are probably the next step up from that on something like a Shopify site. So again, they can also administer that initial sign up, and then that kind of building loyalty points promotions. You often can get them to add their birthday in, their location. So it gives you an opportunity to collect a little bit more data against that contact. And I'm going to talk about in a moment how we're going to use all this juicy data as well. Quizzes are quite great. I think quizzes are great for B2B, especially, and lots of B2C executions as well. Simple quizzes, where, if you've got multiple services, you might have a quiz that helps someone identify the starting point. Or if your clients tend to have, buckets of pain points, you could have a quiz around, are we the right fit for you? And really kind of, showcase those pain points. If you're an accounting firm, for example, you might have a quiz that's, is it time to change accountants? And then, you could have, does your accountant contact you? How many times a year does your accountant contact you? What do you mean? They never contact me, 0 to 3, 3 to 5. Did you do tax planning last year? Yes or no? Do you believe your accountant is working to get you the most, effective tax return? All these sorts of questions. And then you can sort of enter their email to get the answers. And the answer can then be, oh, your accountant sounds amazing. Or, oh, it sounds like you need a change. So those sorts of quizzes. We're talking at the moment internally for a candle client about a quiz around, picking the scent that matches your personality. So more of an e-com example, but, quizzes, polls, and obviously competitions are great ways to collect emails. Any sort of competition where you can have something valuable enough that somebody wants to enter their email address. So these work quite good as Facebook ads, believe it or not. So, giving away a voucher to your store, giving away, a service. So if you're a interior designer and you do a consult, you might give away a free consult to one person worth X $100, run it over a month, run ads to it to drive people to it. And the entry is only by email collection. And you might, for that, because the prize is quite high, you might be able to say email, city, phone number, and name. The higher the prize, the more questions I think you can get away with asking as well. Then, as I talked about before, you've got all your CRM capability for B2B and the data that it can collect and, emails you can push out to get deeper into that knowledge of that client. Surveys and feedback forms. So if you're even a face-to-face business, having a survey or a feedback form that someone can fill in, that again is an opportunity for them to pop their email in. I think, if you're a bricks and mortar business, having a sign-up sheet, having a QR code, and having a newsletter, to be honest, and saying, you can subscribe here and, you'll stay in touch. And again, depending on that bricks and mortar business, you can incentivize that in real time. Do you want $5 off your XYZ today? Look, just scan that app, sign up to the newsletter, show me you've signed up, and I'll take $5 off your bill. So, what is that contact worth to you, and how much would it cost you to get it otherwise? And I think, $5 for an email address is not bad from someone that's already buying with you. Another great one, I was talking to a client the other day, and they're a tapware distributor. And she was basically saying, we don't have a big email address because we deal with the retailer. So we're kind of lost, in terms of creating that direct customer relationship. So we talked about like a warranty or a product registration card. And, that's such an old, an old classic strategy. But it's a good one because, again, it gets people filling in that form and sending it in. And then you've got all that data. And again, I think with product warranty and product registration, you can ask a few more questions as well because you're really, verifying their warranty is going to be in place. A long time ago, I used to work in the marketing department of Pacific Brands. And on the Bonds brand, they used to have a cashback promotion. And the cashback promotion was basically if you bought, I think, more than 2 or 3 pairs of undies, you could, attach your receipt, fill out a form, fill it out online, and you would get like $5 cash back. Now, if you think about that, rather than having a sale in store where I just go in, I get the discount, off I go, instead, I'm getting the discount, but only when I hand over my contact details and email address. So it's a real win-win because the customer is getting that perceived benefit, but we're also collecting data and getting to know that customer that, again, as a bit more removed, we wouldn't otherwise know. So think about how that data collection for you can be online and offline, depending on your business type. So, first party data, so important to gather. But once you've got it, what do you do with it is the big question. And obviously what you can do with it really depends on how much you've collected and how in-depth your strategy is. And if you'd love to talk more about that strategy, please get in contact because I do really love this stuff. And I think there's a lot of different strategies outside of just grabbing that first name and email address that you can work on within your business. So, a huge one for first party data is obviously personalization. When we look at marketing trends, personalization comes up again and again as a key trend that we're going to see moving forward. And that's really AI driven, as well as, just in your email data. At the MailChimp conference, they said that, putting somebody's first name in the subject line increases the click through rate. And so think about that personalization. How much more can you personalize it? Do you know that somebody always buys yellow from you? So now segment the data on people that buy yellow and send them an email to tell them that your new yellow summer styles have dropped. Is it a shape of sunglasses? Is it a smell of candle? Is it a training course, and there's a certain part of your database that really engages with your training course products? How can you get to just them? So that personalization. Again, there's a lot of AI driven products coming through MailChimp and Klaviyo that can do this for you. Think about that personalization where it's cross-selling and upselling. So it's leveraging that first party data, and it's saying, we saw you love our dresses, have you thought about buying sandals that match? Or that it's saying, you recently bought flowers once a month, here's an offer to buy them twice a month. How can we use that data that we're collecting to actually increase our basket size, increase our, number of purchases? Segmenting our audience, similar to personalization, but segmenting, we might segment by location. There might be an email that doesn't make sense to send to our whole database. If we could just send it to our people in, Victoria, it would make a lot more sense. Or we might, we might be an accounting firm and we want to segment our personal clients versus our business clients. We might be a vet and we want to segment just to our cat owners versus our dog owners. So segmentation is a great way to market when we have solid first party data and we're not just kind of smashing everyone with the same message. Obviously, customer retention, first party data in a lot of e-com also helps us with identification. So we can see who our top buyers are. We can see who our risk of churn, so who it looks like we're about to lose from engagement. We can see our top openers, our most loyal, our biggest referrers. So looking at that first party data and slicing up that data again and partly looking at segmentation to aid retention based on the buckets we're seeing within there. Customer journey optimization. So when we understand our first party data and we can start to look at their trends in that journey, we can say, well, hang on, we have a lot of people drop out, add to cart to checkout. What's going on? Why is that happening? Let's test some things. Is it our postage? Is it, it's actually quite awkward to check out on mobile. So they're dropping out with the intention of coming to desktop, but maybe they're not getting there. And then what interventions can we put in place? Do we need a remarketing campaign, or do we need a better abandoned cart email series? So really looking at our first party data and using it to drive how that customer journey is and how we can interject our marketing to support it. Looking at the loyalty program, so understanding our first party data more helps us understand what they want from us as well. What sort of loyalty programs? What's their buying frequency? How do we want to increase that? What's their basket size? How do we want to increase that? What loyalty program design can we make based on the first party data that we're seeing? And then obviously predictive analytics. And I've touched a bit on this in terms of what some of the email platforms and certainly CRM platforms are doing. But, letting that AI and that predictive side show us what might happen next based on our first party data. So what their behavior has been typically and historically, and then crossing that with what's happening in the market now to be able to forecast what might happen next, which is really powerful. The other great place for your first party data, and we're seeing this time and time again, is within your paid ads campaigns. So as I touched on earlier, Google is collecting less information and, Apple is sharing less information. And that means Facebook ads, Google ads, TikTok ads has less data to work with. When I started in Facebook ads, when it launched, 12 or more years ago, we could I reckon I could pretty much find you in your home right now. That we had so much information on people. We could look at like earnings, we could look at really specific life stage stuff, pages you liked, places you'd been, if you lived in a place or if you just visited there on the weekends. It was so specific. And over time, rightly so, as privacy laws has come in place, we're collecting less and less and less data and have less transparency. And, the platforms are giving us less to choose from and more saying, trust our AI, trust our AI. Now, the best way to trust the AI is to guide it. And the best thing you can guide it with is first-party data. And I see this time and time again. If we have a campaign that's not performing and we can get our hands on their first-party data, so for example, download their whole email database and put it into the AI of Google or the AI of Meta, so looking at Performance Max or Advantage Plus, all of a sudden the machine is so much clearer on who buys from us. They can go out and find us a lot more of those people and we see the results increase. So we're losing that ability to see who our customers are. We have the opportunity to build it and to build that customer knowledge so tightly that every part of our business can benefit. So I'd love you to, from today, write down maybe 1 or 2 ways that you can either start collecting first-party data or start diversifying the amount of first-party data you're collecting. And then I'd like you to write down 2 things you can do with it and what you're going to do. Because I think, it really is the time to get behind this. There are more changes coming to the Google landscape as well. And increasing your first-party data, having your hands on first-party data is going to set you apart from other businesses. Thank you so much for listening again today. Always a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to talking to you more soon. Hey, thanks for listening to another episode. If you don't want to miss one, make sure you subscribe to the show in your podcast app. And if you love it, be sure to share it with friends and colleagues who you think could benefit from increasing their digital marketing confidence. Want more? Head to maryanneamies.com to find out how you can work with me directly, to reach out to have me speak at your event, or to grab yourself some free resources.